History Coins HD. As you that old as gold, but these rare Lincoln Wheat penny coin that are most valuable than you think, don't spend one of them. You're lucky if you have one of these, so please watch complete video and find your treasure. Let's start this. Top 1, we're diving into the remarkable story behind a small piece of copper that has captured the attention of collectors, historians, and investors alike, the legendary 1944 Lincoln Wheat penny. Don't let its size fool you. This humble 1-cent coin might just be hiding a six-figure secret. Now, picture this. It's the year 1944. The world is deep in the throes of World War II. America's industries are booming, working day and night to support the war effort. Copper is in high demand, needed for ammunition, electrical wiring, and essential wartime equipment. So, the U.S. Mint decides to change course. In 1943, they strike pennies out of zinc-coated steel instead of copper. These silvery-looking steel cents are a wartime necessity, but in 1944, things change again. The mint switches back to using copper, repurposing leftover shell casings from the battlefields to create new Lincoln cents. Millions of these were produced, but here's where the mystery begins. Among these copper coins struck in 1944, something unusual happens at the Denver Mint. A very small number of Lincoln Wheat pennies were minted with an incredibly rare error, struck not on copper, but on leftover steel planchets from the previous year. This wasn't supposed to happen. By 1944, all steel blanks were meant to be gone. But somehow, a few slipped through the cracks. And one of them came out of Denver, marked with a tiny D just beneath the date. The result? One of the rarest coins in United States history, the 1944 Lincoln Wheat penny struck on a steel planchet. But how can you tell if you've got one of these rare beauties? First, grab a magnet. A regular 1944 penny made of copper won't be attracted to it at all. But a 1944 struck on steel? It'll stick. That's your first clue. Then, there's the color. Steel cents have a shiny, silvery appearance, completely different from the warm brown or red tones of copper. If you've got a 1944 penny that's silver-colored and magnetic, you might be holding a true rarity. And now, let's talk about why this coin is so valuable. The answer lies in the perfect storm of scarcity, historical importance, and collector demand. Only a handful of these error coins have ever been authenticated. Some experts estimate fewer than 10 exist today. That's fewer than most rare sports cards, fewer than many rare stamps, and far fewer than almost any collectible you can name. When a coin is this rare and this well documented, the price can go through the roof, and it's not just about rarity. The Lincoln Wheat penny itself holds a special place in American culture. Introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, it was the first U.S. coin to feature a real person. The wheat ears on the reverse symbolized growth, prosperity, and the strength of the American people. For generations, finding a wheat penny in your change meant you were holding a tiny piece of history. But a 1944 steel wheat penny? That's not just history, that's legend. These coins are considered the holy grail by collectors. Whenever one appears at auction, the buzz spreads quickly through the numismatic community. Collectors, investors, and museums line up to bid for a chance to own this tiny miracle of minting. The few that have changed hands have gone for eye-watering sums, and the demand only grows as more collectors enter the market. If you're wondering where to look, don't underestimate the power of pocket change, old jars in the attic, or those dusty boxes of coins passed down from relatives. People have found extraordinary things in the most ordinary places. The key is to look closely, test carefully, and never assume a penny is just a penny. And now, the moment you've been waiting for. How much could a genuine 1944 Lincoln Wheat penny struck on a steel planchet be worth today? If you're lucky enough to discover one of these incredible coins in high-grade condition, its value could reach as much as $150,000. That's right. One penny. One rare error. One unbelievable fortune. So before you toss the change aside or overlook a dull silver coin at the bottom of a drawer, remember what we've learned today. That small, worn-looking penny might just be the key to an extraordinary discovery. Top 2, we're diving deep into American coin history to uncover the fascinating story of one of the rarest and most valuable Lincoln Wheat pennies ever minted. It's a coin that hides in plain sight, small, copper-toned, and often overlooked by those who don't know its true value. But for those who do, it's a priceless artifact. We're talking about the elusive 1917's Lincoln Wheat Penny. Now, why is this particular penny so special? Let's take a trip back over a century ago. The year is 1917. The United States is entering the First World War, the world is in turmoil, and massive changes are sweeping across the globe. In the midst of these world-changing events, the U.S. Mint in San Francisco was quietly producing a coin that would one day become a collector's dream. This was the 8th year of production for the Lincoln cent, which had replaced the Indian head cent in 1909. President Abraham Lincoln, America's great unifier, was chosen to appear on the front of the coin, and for good reason. His legacy stood for honesty, unity, and strength. The design on the front features a sharp portrait of Lincoln, while the back holds two wheat ears framing the bold inscription, 1 cent, United States of America. These wheat pennies, as they came to be known, were more than just currency, they were national symbols of endurance during trying times. So what makes the 1917 penny from San Francisco stand out? First, you have to understand the importance of that tiny S mint mark located just below the date. That S indicates the coin was struck at the San Francisco Mint, a location known for smaller production numbers, especially in the early 1900s. In fact, far fewer pennies were minted in San Francisco than in Philadelphia or Denver. That already makes it scarcer. But scarcity alone doesn't make a coin legendary. Here's where the magic really begins. Over the years, many of these 1917 wheat pennies were lost, damaged, or worn down from heavy circulation. The few that remain in excellent condition, especially those with sharp details, clear mint marks, and rich original luster, are incredibly hard to find. These are what collectors dream of. Coins that have somehow survived for over 100 years without being ground down by time or usage. Imagine holding a piece of history that's passed through the Great Depression, 2 world wars, and the Civil Rights Movement. It's seen more than a century of American life, yet it still retains its shine. That's the kind of story a 1917 penny can tell, but there's more. Some 1917 pennies were struck with subtle variations, minting anomalies, stronger than usual die impressions, or perfect centering. These small differences can add up to a huge increase in collector value. Coins that were preserved from the start, perhaps tucked away in bankrolls, coin folders, or safe deposit boxes, now fetch astonishing attention from collectors and investors. It's not just the coin itself that's valuable, it's the context. A century-old penny from a low-production mint, surviving in near-perfect condition, with ties to the wartime economy of the early 20th century, that's the kind of find that sets auction rooms on fire. So how do you know if you've got a winner? The first thing to look for is that S under the date. Then, check the coin's condition. Are the details on Lincoln's beard crisp? Can you clearly read the letters "In God We Trust"? Is the wheat pattern on the back still deeply etched? If the coin has rich color and minimal scratches, it might just be a hidden gem. And if it's been professionally graded and certified at a high level, say, MS66 or higher, you're in rare territory. These coins don't appear often. They're locked in private collections, passed down as family heirlooms, or hidden in the back of safes, waiting to be rediscovered. But every so often, one comes to light, and when it does, the numismatic world takes notice. Now for the part you've been waiting for, the value. Just how much could a pristine, high-grade 1917 Lincoln Wheat Penny be worth today? If you happen to come across one of these rare treasures in mint condition, its value can reach as much as $160,000. Yes, you heard that right. A single copper penny worth far more than its weight in gold, and carrying the legacy of a nation's history in its tiny form. So before you dismiss that old penny jar in the closet, take a second look. That little coin might just be the key to a hidden fortune. Top 3. We've got a real copper classic for you, a coin that may look ordinary, but could be worth a jaw-dropping fortune if you know what to look for. We're going deep into the story of the 1950 Lincoln Wheat Penny, a humble 1-cent piece that has shocked collectors with its unexpected rarity and value. At first glance, a 1950 penny doesn't seem all that special. After all, millions of them were produced. It's not from the 1800s, it doesn't have a fancy silver or gold shine, and you've probably even seen one rolling around in old change or tucked away in a dusty drawer. But here's the thing, not all 1950 pennies are created equal. And some, under the right conditions, have become incredibly valuable. Today, we're going to uncover why this coin is more than just a penny, and how one could change your financial life. Let's rewind the clock to the mid-20th century. It's 1950. America is recovering from the turmoil of World War II and stepping into the modern age. Cars are getting sleeker, televisions are popping up in living rooms across the country, and coins, yes, even the pennies, are being minted with care and precision. That year, the U.S. Mint produced Lincoln cents at 3 facilities: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The design still featured the iconic bust of President Abraham Lincoln on the front, and the classic wheat ears on the reverse, symbols of growth and prosperity. These wheat pennies were minted from 1909 to 1958, and the 1950 edition marked the end of an era. The design would soon be replaced by the Lincoln Memorial in 1959. That makes the 1950 penny one of the final chapters in the beloved Wheat Penny series. And for collectors, that kind of historical bookend always adds interest and demand. But here's where it gets really interesting: while millions were minted, only a very small number have survived in near-perfect condition. Most of the 1950 Lincoln cents went straight into circulation. They were used daily, passed from hand to hand, dropped in vending machines, jingled in pockets, and spent without a second thought. Over time, they became scratched, worn, and faded. A penny in good shape is already a find, but a 1950 wheat penny in pristine, uncirculated condition? That's where things start to heat up, and it doesn't stop there. Some of the rarest and most valuable 1950 pennies come with minting errors, tiny mistakes made at the factory that turn an ordinary coin into a collector's prize. We're talking about double dies, off-center strikes, and repunched mint marks. These errors weren't meant to happen, but when they did, they created unique versions of the 1950 penny that are now worth far more than their face value. Imagine spotting one of these in a coin jar at home, or in a box of old coins passed down from a relative. It could look like just another penny, but to a trained eye, it might be a six-figure prize. That's why so many collectors and treasure seekers spend hours going through rolls of pennies, inspecting each one under a magnifying glass, searching for that rare gem.so. How can you tell if your 1950 penny is valuable? First, check for the mint mark. A small d means it was made in Denver, and an S means San Francisco. No letter? Then it's from Philadelphia. Some of the most desirable error coins come from Denver, especially those with visible doubling or repunched marks. Next, examine the condition. Coins with full luster, sharp detail, and no signs of wear are known as mint state coins, and those are where the big money lies. It's not just about rarity, though. These coins hold a nostalgic, emotional value. They're symbols of a different time, a simpler era when a penny could buy a piece of candy or go toward a soda at the corner store. For many collectors, finding a flawless 1950 penny is like discovering a time capsule, a glimpse into the past frozen in copper, and the best part? You don't have to be a millionaire to start collecting. Many of the greatest finds have been made by people just like you, curious, careful, and a little bit lucky. It starts with a magnifying glass and a handful of change. The rest is patience and knowledge, and now, for the moment you've all been waiting for. You might be wondering, what's the absolute top value a 1950 Lincoln wheat penny could reach today? Well, if you happen to have a rare 1950 wheat penny in perfect, uncirculated condition with a certified mint error, its value could soar as high as $105,000. Yes, you heard that right. One tiny penny. $105,000. All from a coin that most people wouldn't even glance at twice. So next time you're sorting through change or flipping through a coin collection, take a moment. Check those dates. Look for mint marks. Study the surface. Because that little penny in your hand might just be the key to a life-changing discovery. Top 4. We're diving into the incredible story of the 1941 Lincoln wheat penny, a coin that proves even the smallest things can hold tremendous worth. And now, when most people see a penny from the 1940s, they might think, cool, that's old, and toss it back into a jar. But if you've got a sharp eye and a little knowledge, that same penny could turn out to be a miniature gold mine. The 1941 wheat penny is one of those coins that has a hidden legacy. At first glance, it looks like just another Lincoln cent, same iconic profile of President Lincoln on the front. Same two wheat stalks standing proud on the reverse, symbolizing growth and strength in a country still climbing out of the Great Depression. But behind that simple copper exterior is a story tied to war, change, and one of the most explosive times in American history. Let's set the scene. It's 1941. Europe is at war. The United States is inching closer and closer to entering World War II. Life on the home front is shifting.
Factories are switching from consumer goods to wartime production, rationing is on the horizon, and Americans are holding their breath.
During this pivotal year, the U.S. Mint in Denver quietly produced tens of millions of 1-cent coins. They were needed for everyday use, for purchases at markets, and for paychecks handed out to hardworking citizens. But here's where things get interesting. While the Denver Mint struck over 128 million pennies that year, very few of them have survived in excellent condition.
Most were spent, worn down, dented, and tossed aside. After all, a penny was just a penny. Who knew then that one day, a small number of these coins, minted in copper and marked with a tiny D under the date, would become treasures in the eyes of collectors, and we're not just talking about decent condition here. The 1941 D penny that turns heads is the one that somehow, against all odds, escaped the wear and tear of everyday life. These are the coins that were never spent, never dropped, never rubbed smooth in someone's pocket. They were set aside and preserved, maybe by a collector, maybe by someone who saw it shine and saved it. Whatever the reason, these near-perfect coins are incredibly rare today and now. Imagine finding a 1941 D penny with bold details, clear lettering, rich reddish-brown or deep red coloring, and not a single scratch. That's the kind of coin that collectors dream about.
And there's more, some 1941 D pennies also come with mint errors.
We're talking about things like double dies, repunched mint marks, or off-center strikes.
These tiny minting mistakes turn already rare coins into once-in-a-lifetime finds. Think about it. A coin you could have pulled out of your grandparents' change jar, or found in a dusty coin album, could be one of these ultra-rare survivors.
And in the world of numismatics, rarity plus condition equals value.
Massive value. What makes this even more exciting is that these treasures aren't locked away in vaults or museums.
They're still out there. In old family collections. In flea market finds.
In unsearched rolls of pennies sitting in people's basements. And that's what makes coin collecting so thrilling, because the next big discovery could be made by someone just like you. So how do you know if your 1941 D penny is special?
Start by looking for the D mint mark under the date. Check the color. Original copper luster is a great sign. Use a magnifier and inspect the details.
The clearer and sharper the features, the better. And if you think you've got something truly special, consider getting it professionally graded. That one step could turn a cool find into a fortune. And now for the moment you've been waiting for. If you happen to have a 1941 D Lincoln Wheat Penny in uncirculated, mint condition, especially one with a rare mint error, its value today could reach as much as $120,000. Yes, you heard that right. A coin that originally cost just 1 cent. $120,000. That's the magic of numismatics. That's the thrill of the hunt. So before you dismiss that old penny lying around or pass up that coin box at a garage sale, take a closer look. It might be far more than just a coin. It might be a hidden piece of American history worth more than most cars on the road today. Top 5. We're talking about the legendary 1957 Lincoln Wheat Penny, an unassuming coin with a surprising story and a value that will blow your mind. And now, when you first think about pennies, they probably don't sound all that exciting. They're just the lowest denomination in your change jar, right? But some pennies, especially certain Lincoln Wheat pennies, are far more than spare change. They're pieces of American history. They're rare treasures. And in rare cases, they're worth more than a luxury car. Let's take a closer look at the 1957 edition of the Lincoln Wheat Penny, a coin that marks the near end of an era. The wheat penny design had been circulating since 1909, when it replaced the Indian head cent. It featured the profile of President Abraham Lincoln on the front, the first real person ever to appear on U.S. currency. The reverse side, known as the wheat back, shows 2 wheat ears arching around the words 1 cent and United States of America, a design that symbolized American agriculture, growth, and strength. By 1957, the wheat penny was in its final years. Just 2 years later, in 1959, it would be replaced by the Lincoln Memorial design. So the 1957 penny wasn't just another coin, it was one of the last of its kind, closing out a design that had become a beloved part of American coinage for nearly 5 decades. Most 1957 pennies were struck at 2 locations, the Philadelphia Mint and the Denver Mint. You'll know which one yours came from by looking just below the date. A D means it was minted in Denver. No letter? That's Philadelphia. Either way, millions were made. So what makes some of them special? It all comes down to condition, rarity,
and unexpected minting errors. You see, while the 1957 penny isn't necessarily rare in average condition, the true magic happens when you find one in perfect condition. We're talking about pristine coins with no scratches, strong original luster, and full detail on both sides. These are known as mint state coins, and they're incredibly difficult to find because most pennies were used and abused in everyday transactions. Think about it. A penny in someone's pocket or purse is likely to get scratched, worn, or faded in just a few years. But a penny from 1957 that still looks brand new after all this time? That's something special, but that's not all. Some 1957 wheat pennies have something even rarer: minting errors. Maybe the die shifted during the strike, causing a doubled image. Maybe the mint mark was stamped twice or positioned incorrectly. These kinds of errors weren't supposed to happen, but when they did, they created unique, collectible variations of an otherwise common coin. Collectors go wild for these. Why? Because they're one of a kind. No two error coins are exactly alike. When you combine that uniqueness with near-perfect condition, you get a coin that can command a staggering price on the market. So how do you know if your 1957 penny is valuable? Start with a magnifying glass. Look closely at the details. Is the date crisp and clean? Are Lincoln's features sharp? Is there a strange doubling of letters or numbers? Check for a bright red or red-brown color, which means the coin hasn't been exposed to the elements for too long. And of course, look at the mint mark. Some of the most valuable versions come from the Denver Mint. The best way to find out what you've got is to have the coin graded by a professional service. A top-grade coin certified by a reputable company like PCGS or NGC can unlock its true market value and open doors to serious collectors and auction houses. What's really amazing is how many of these rare finds show up in unexpected places: old coin jars, inherited collections, flea markets, even bankrolls. That's the beauty of numismatics. You never know what treasure might be sitting right under your nose, and now, the moment you've been waiting for. You're probably wondering, how much could a 1957 Lincoln wheat penny actually be worth if it's in flawless condition with a rare minting error? If you happen to have one of these exceptional 1957 wheat pennies, perfectly preserved and carrying an unusual mint flaw, its value could reach as high as $90,000. Yes, you heard that right. One single penny, just one copper coin, could be worth $90,000. So the next time you're sifting through loose change or flipping through a family coin album, take a closer look. You just might be staring at a little piece of history that holds a fortune.